If you created an account on Instagram 12 years ago and you spent an average of 2 hours a day scrolling ever since, how much time do you think you'd have spent on the app? This number blew my mind because it adds up to 8,760 hours, and because there are 24 hours in a day, this equals 365 days. In other words, 1 year of non-stop scrolling. Now, we've never met probably, but if you're still watching, I know something about you. You hate to be bored. Even for a second. And I don't judge you, because I feel exactly the same. We are so used to our brains being bombarded with a constant flood of information that the moment the stream stops, we feel lost. So we pick up the phone, open Instagram and start scrolling, watching one video after another. But this is a rabbit hole that completely kills creativity and suffocates every spark of inspiration. The problem being that there is a big difference between what we want and what we need. The sooner our brain gets rewarded after an action, the more likely we are to keep doing it. Unfortunately, activities such as working out, studying and creating are infinitely more difficult because the pain and discomfort are immediate, but we might have to wait months or even years for the payoff. Subconsciously, we know that the harder path will probably benefit us more in the long run. But still, we tend to choose the easy path, hoping to find a shortcut to happiness. As appealing as the idea might be, most of us have realized by now that it doesn't work. Imagine you had eaten nothing but junk food for the past couple of weeks. Your body would be so used to fat and sugar that everything else would just taste dull. And that's basically what happens to our brains when we consume too much meaningless entertainment. However, if we find a way to regulate the dosage, cut back on our high stimulation habits, and focus our energy on what truly matters, we can use dopamine to our advantage. The only question is, how can we reduce our dopamine tolerance to a healthier level? The main distraction for most people, including myself, is their phone. So step number 1 is to make it harder and less appealing to access all these distracting apps. You can try putting your phone in another room, or setting your screen to grayscale, or using some sort of screen time app that automatically locks you out of any kind of social media after a certain time. But those are quite easy to get around, so I started wondering if there's a better solution. This is how I discovered Zenbox, a seemingly unremarkable device made in Stuttgart, Germany that automatically locks you out of any app on your phone with nothing but a simple tap. The physical distance creates a psychological barrier that makes it virtually impossible to cheat. The keyword here is friction. The more obstacles you put in between you and the next meaningless dopamine hit, the more likely it is you're going to do something else instead. If you want to try Zenbox for yourself, you can use the promo code in the video description to get a 10% discount on your next order. But let's get back to the topic of dopamine detox in general. It's essential to understand that dopamine isn't a bad thing. If used correctly, it's what's making us chase after our dreams. We just have to think about where we get it from. Is it pointless entertainment or beneficial progress? When we complete a task we've been working on for a long time, we don't just get a single spike of dopamine, but a continuous high that can last up to several hours. So if we're feeling lost and lack motivation, the solution isn't to kill dopamine completely, but to train our brain to go after the right kind of dopamine. Of course, no one can be productive 24/7, and it's completely fine to take some time off and relax. We just need to be aware that our attention is a resource, and we should treat it with care. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.